Let's go for green. You're joking. I'm not doing this. No. We're not doing that. Sorry. I've read one of her books. I don't need to read anymore. I've seen enough. We're gonna pull out a new one. Oh, you're joking. You're fucking joking. I am not reading this book either. I'm not doing it. Hey guys, I'm Angus, and today I'm going to be wrapping up everything that I read in June and doing my TBR for July. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm sick, I've got a cold, so my voice sounds horrible. And I filmed a video and then I started editing it, and I sound so annoying when I'm sick. My voice is so nasally, so we scrapped that. So I haven't filmed for like 2 weeks, and I've been so busy doing stuff and just everything is going on. So if you don't know, I've been doing this thing where every month I draw out 3 books from this little jar of all these books that I own that I haven't read, and I add them onto my TBR. So I don't have to read them, but I have to at least try to read them. That's like what I'm challenging myself to try and do this year, because everything I've got, I want to at least give a chance, you know? So if you're just here to see me draw out my TBR and see what I'm reading this month, you can skip to this time code here. And I'll be doing that. Otherwise, right now I'm gonna wrap up everything that I read last month. Yeah, let's get into it. So I read 6 books last month, but I also DNF'd 2 books. I never DNF books, but this month twice, 2 books I just couldn't do. So the first 2 books I read this month were White Rage and White Fragility as part of the Blackout buddy read that happened here on YouTube. I've already talked about these a fair bit in my other wrap up and just on my channel, so I won't go into too much depth, but pretty much these books are a great like springboard into discussion about race and racism, and not just in America. These are both written by American authors, but I feel like they have relevant connotations to pretty much everywhere in the world. Yeah, so I found these useful, but I personally want to do a bit more digging and find some other books on this topic. I've been looking at hood feminism and why I no longer talk to white people about race. The next book I read, I show this bind up in every single video because I've been reading it. The Amber Spyglass from Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials trilogy. I finally finished this trilogy. I've been reading like 1 a month. I was so disappointed, guys. I'm so frustrated with how this series ended. For me, this series had so much potential. I absolutely loved the first book and things started to get rocky during the second book, but reading the third book, I'm so disappointed. I gave this book like 2.5 stars. I appreciated how things wrapped up, but this series for me just went in such a direction I couldn't get on board with. Like, I get all the allegories and the mirror image of the Catholic Church, but for me, I just feel like the plot and storyline of this book was sacrificed for Philip Pullman's want to make a grand statement. And like, while that's fine, I just feel like it's like this is a children's middle fiction series. I really wanted my characters to go somewhere and feel like they were really pushed to the side towards the end. And I don't know if I'll be reading the prequel series now because I just need to get over this. It was such a disappointment for me. The next book I read was The Fill-In Boyfriend by Casey West. After reading this book, I think I might quit because the things I've been seeing in here don't make sense. This book changed me. I drew this out of my TBR jar for last month, and I'm kind of glad I read it. It was an experience. Let me tell you, I filmed a whole video on this book that I will never publish because I hate it, but I had a whole video discussing what went down in this book. It's pretty much your typical trashy YA romance book about this girl named Gia, whose boyfriend dumps her like right as they're walking into prom. And so she's like, oh, so frustrated because she won't get to show to her friends that she had a boyfriend the whole time. So she goes and plucks some random guy out of the car park to be her fill-in boyfriend for the night. And yeah, things just go from there. It was so poorly written, but I absolutely loved reading this so much. I think I might be a Casey West stan now. I want to read more of her stuff. Like, I just want to know what's going on for this woman. I don't know why I'm exposing myself like this. The next book I also drew out of my TBR jar, and that was The Music of What Happens by Bill Conisberg. This is sitting at like a 3.75 for me. I really enjoyed it, and it was nothing like what I was expecting. It pretty much follows these 2 boys who work in this like food truck van thing in Arizona over the summer, and it's like a gay love story. I absolutely loved the concept, and there's so much more deeper things going on here I don't want to get into because they're spoilers, but it's a really thought-provoking contemporary, which you don't often get in YA a lot of the times. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. There's just this one thing that happened that I kind of wish didn't happen the way it did. There's this scene that kind of brings up a stigma around HIV that I feel like we could have done without, especially as this is a YA novel and people reading this who maybe this is their first encounter with seeing this kind of thing in literature might get the wrong idea, and it really sets a stereotype that I wasn't a fan of, but other than that, I really enjoyed this book, and I kind of want to read more of his stuff because I know that a lot of people enjoy his other books as well. The last book I actually finished this month was The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. I actually wanted to get this in hardcover, but it's out of stock in Australia until August or something, so I've ordered it, but I had to snag a paperback from work for the meantime so I could read it. This was my first N.K. Jemisin book, and I really enjoyed it. I absolutely love the character work in this book, and I feel like it's something that is probably a prominent feature of all of her work. So The City We Became follows like 5 New Yorkers who each represent like one of the 5 boroughs of New York. It's like they're all kind of like the spirits or like avatars for each part of the city. That's how it's described. And they're facing off against this like big bad supernatural threat. It took me a while to get my head around what's going on in this book, but kind of once you do, things really click and you really get into it. I think as an Australian, if I knew New York a bit better, I might appreciate the book more because I feel like it's really a book written about New York as like a love letter to New York. So that would have been nice, but either way, I still really enjoyed it. I feel like anyone can read this and get something out of it, even if you're not really familiar with New York. So yeah. Okay, the next 2 books I didn't finish, and I never do this. I never DNF books, but I just was fed up this month and I had to do it. So the first book I DNF'd was Conventionally Yours. This is an early arc I got. I couldn't get through it. I just feel like this is a story I've read so many times before, and it really wasn't giving me anything new. And I just didn't have time to read something that I just have read a million times before. I don't know, the characters didn't feel very fleshed out to me, and I couldn't make time to care. Just really wasn't my cup of tea. Pretty much a love story between 2 boys who go to this like convention. I think they're gamers. I just couldn't get on board, unfortunately. And the next book I DNF'd, it's somewhere, but I can't be bothered to find it. It was The Art of Racing in the Rain. This book I drew out of my TBR jar, and I just had to give in and stop. It was just not a book that I needed to read. There's so much hype for this online. It's such a well-regarded book. Right now, I just don't need a book written from a dog's perspective. I just don't want to read about it. I love dogs. I have 2 dogs, but it's just not, I don't need a dog narrating a book to me. I don't know, just didn't sit well with me, and it felt very Marley and Me to me, which I read like 10 years ago, and I don't know, I don't really need to learn philosophy from a dog. That's all I can say. I'm sorry if you like this book. I'm sure it's a really good book. I just couldn't give it the time of day, unfortunately. Alrighty, so that's everything I read last month. Let's get into my TBR for this month. Once again, I'm really nervous. So I'm gonna pull out what I'm gonna be reading first and go through that, and then I'll talk about the other books I wanna read this month. And yeah, that's what we'll do. First book. I don't know, we don't really do yellow. I say this all the time. I'm always like, we don't do this color, but we do. A yellow. Here we go. Okay. Ooh. Oh, okay. Okay. I don't know if I have time for this book right now. Wonderstruck by Brian Selznick. I won this book at like a book fair when I was in high school, and I've just never picked it up. It's the same author as The Invention of Hugo Cabret. A lot of dust just went whoosh, because this book has been sitting on my shelf for so long. I really don't know anything about it. It's written with really nice illustrations throughout it. And if you take the dust jacket off, it's blue. I feel like this is a book you don't need to find out what it's about before you read it, so I'm not gonna look into it. I'm just gonna put it on my TBR and maybe read it. We'll see. I forgot I had that book, to be honest. It's been there for so long. Let's do book number 2, green. Let's go for green. Let's see what we got. You're joking. I'm not doing this. No. No. So I pulled out Confess by Colleen Hoover. The first month I did this, I drew out a Colleen Hoover book and I read it. Wasn't my cup of tea, so I'm gonna make an executive decision right now to not read this book. I'm gonna be taking all of her books out of my jar because I can't. We're not doing that, sorry. Let's try again. I've read one of her books. I don't need to read anymore. I've seen enough. We're gonna pull out a new one. Oh, you're joking. You're fucking joking. I am not reading this book either. I'm not doing it. I drew out The Casual Vacancy by J.K. Rowling. We're not doing that. I'm not reading that Turfs book. Well, this is getting through things quickly. Should I just leave it there? I drew out 3 books and I'm not gonna read 2 of them. So maybe I could just go a little bit easier on myself. Oh my God, this is a disaster. Okay, all right. This one still kind of sucks, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Looking for Alaska by John Green. This book has had its time, it's done. No one cares about it anymore, but I'm gonna be reading it this month, or at least trying to. There's a TV show now, isn't there? I have no interest in John Green. This is just like his other books, isn't it? And I've read some of the other books, so I don't, whatever. Book number 3. This has been a terrible month. This is terrible. Orange. Oh, okay. Yeah, we can do this. We can do this. Where is it? The third actual book that I pulled out that I will be reading is Stardust by Neil Gaiman. I have read 2 or 3 of Neil Gaiman's books. I can't really remember. I've read Coraline and the Graveyard Book and maybe another one. I'm not sure. But this, I think it's a sci-fi. The sleepy English countryside, Victorian era. I think there's some magical realism. I don't really know. I don't know. We'll see. I'm just going to chuck it on the TBR. I kind of like going into these books that I drew out without knowing much. So yeah. Jesus Christ, that was a disaster. Thank God the other books I'm planning on reading this month are so much better. So the first book that I actually want to read this month is Slay by Brittany Morris. I just bought this book and I'm so excited to read it. This is pretty much about a girl who is an honor student by day, but by night she's the designer of this open world style, like Ready Player One style RPG game where you play as a Nubian persona, and it's been described as like a Black Panther style world. So there's like things with technology. So yeah, she's the creator of this online RPG. That alone sold me so much on this book. I just really want to see what's going on. But a teen is murdered over a dispute in the game, and the game's called Slay. And then the mainstream media kind of catches hold of it and labels the game as like this racist, exclusionary, like violence hub. And so our main character is kind of forced to stand up to this and be who she is in this world that seems intimidated by her blackness. And I kind of like the cover. I didn't at first, but it's a bit sparkly, which is nice. And if you take the jacket off, that's kind of cool. I like that. The rest of the books I'm reading this month are actually adult books, which is kind of cool. I'll see how I go. I might come crawling back to some new adult release, but we'll see. The next book I want to read is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This book came onto my radar. I was watching an interview with Chip Kidd, who is the cover designer behind this book. Love his work. And I kind of got intrigued because this became like an instant classic bestseller from a first-time author back in 1993, and I just found that so interesting. It's been described as like a literary classic that's written to be accessible by mainstream audiences. And the title and the cover, what a great marketing exercise. It just draws you in, like The Secret History. I just want to know what's about. You may know this author as the author of The Goldfinch, her newer release, which was made into a film. This book follows a bunch of misfits at a New England college who, quote, discover a way of thinking and living that is a world away from the humdrum existence of their contemporaries. Yeah, the title's so intriguing. I just feel like the marketing really drew me into this book. The original cover looks like this, and you can like take off the flap and it's interactive, and I just like it. It draws you in. The next book I'll be reading this month, this is probably the book I'm most excited for this month, Mexican Gothic. This book sounds so good and I'm in love with the cover. There's like a 3-sentence summary that I really like. An isolated mansion, a chilling charismatic aristocrat, and a brave socialite drawn to expose their treacherous secrets. It's supposed to be a bit dark and twisted. It is a horror book. It's kind of like a reimagined Gothic fantasy, but like it's set in the real world in the 1950s in Mexico. The next book I'll be reading this month is Flames by Robbie Arnott. This book I'll be buddy reading with someone who I love very much, so I really hope I like this. I don't know much about this one. It's kind of a mystery to me. It deals with like a mother coming back from the dead after she's been cremated or something crazy, and these 2 siblings, and a lot of magical realism or something. I'm not too sure. Is it Australian? I think the author might be Australian, which is interesting. I didn't know that. And then also with the same person, I'll be reading a poetry collection by Frank O'Hara, who is a gay poet, and I really love his work. So that'll be interesting to read these 2 together. And finally, the last book I'll be reading this month is a collection of short stories by Elizabeth Tan. It's called Smart Ovens for Lonely People. I originally was drawn to this book. It's a new release here in Australia, and I love the cover so much and the title. Like, it's just so interesting. Smart Ovens for Lonely People. What is this about? And there's a cat on the cover. What's going on? This book is supposed to be a satirical bunch of short stories about things ranging from like a smart oven shaped like a cat that you can have conversations with to like the takedown of some kind of advertisements. I'm not too sure. This book has some like really short stories, like they're like 3 or 4 pages, and then some 20-page ones. There's a nice mix, and yeah, I'm excited to I don't read short stories much, so it'll be interesting to see how I go. Alrighty, those are all the books I will be reading this month. It's gonna be fun. I've got a bunch of fun ones and a bunch of not really fun ones, so we'll see what happens. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.